Hello?
Okay. Uh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, so I think, in my opinion, you're. By the way, I say I don't want to get in a heated debate, so I'm just gonna try to keep as respectful as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I guess your videos on religion are a bit. How do I put it? It
Unhealthy?
doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see your chat that you said something about my take on religion seems unhealthy. What, could you elaborate? I'm curious what you mean by that.
Uh, Personally, I'm agnostic, so. And I totally agree with you, the parts of
Mm-hmm.
hey, fundamentally in these religions, there's a lot of destigmatization of slavery, um,
Mm-hmm.
and horrific acts.
Right.
But I think that during your videos on religion,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of stigmatizes religion a
Mm-hmm.
lot more than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that in order to change the whole religion issue, that there needs to be a change within like the religions themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like further stigmatizing religions just it it, it gets us farther from what peace just
Right.
peace in general.
Well, it would really just have to depend on what the goal was, right? So, like, if we're talking about reducing stigma and whatnot, like, so me personally, I don't care if I increase the stigma against religion. In fact, I would actually prefer to do that. I think that's a good thing because I think that religion is very, very bad. And I recognize that I think when you say that my takes on religion seem unhealthy or whatever, what you probably mean is that you can tell that I am personally very resentful towards religion as well, which is true. I do have my own personal qualms with religion. I have had my own fucked up childhood due to religion, and I still am very angry at my parents and many people. And I personally think religion is like a blight on the world, and it kind of brings me joy to offend Christians because my entire upbringing I was pretty much offended by Christians, and that's putting it lightly, but still. So I definitely recognize what you mean, though, that like there's clearly some personal resentment that I have here, and I have no problem admitting that. But I also think that religion in and of itself is harmful, and that it also teaches bad things and encourages bad things. And if we want to talk about that, like you can see the rates of Christians that are not accepting of gay people, right? Like Muslims in the US are more accepting of gay people than US Christians are, than white evangelicals. To me, that's a huge problem. And so if I'm stigmatizing religion a little more, I don't care because to me, it's the same reason as if somebody was like, well, because I believe in astrology, that's why gay people are, an abomination. I don't care. Like it's a fantasy at that point. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. But like I'm trying to see how I can articulate this, but the my opinion is that you're not going to get rid of religion, first of
Mm-hmm.
all. It's something that's just always going to be there. But I feel like, what's the example? Like colonists coming to the US
Mm-hmm.
and using religion to justify slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Like people can manipulate religion that way. And I feel like if there's like manipulation of religion in like a good way,
Mm-hmm.
that you could it's easier to change religion from that aspect
Oh, I see what you
than
mean.
to just bash it.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Like it would be a lot easier to convince like a Christian how like, hey, Jesus loves everybody. God made everybody. So you should love gay people too. That would be a lot easier than trying to convince them, hey, give up on Christianity. It's a lie. Right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
I do agree with that, and I think that would kind of depend on the individual. So like first of all, I just be clear, my goal is not to like eradicate religion or get rid of it or something. I said only raising the stigma against it. I don't care if there's more and more people that are hesitant and skeptical of religion. In my opinion, that's a good thing. right? So I don't want to eradicate it. I know that I'm never going to be able to get rid of it, but to make people more skeptical of it is a great start.
Yeah.
And I say that because I was hurt by religion so badly that I have a hard time seeing many good things with it. Although I will say that when it comes to like kind of manipulating religion from the inside instead of trying to just convince them to turn away from all of religion, that can be very effective. And I would say like nowadays my parents are not nearly as like the same way they used to be when I was, had my upbringing and whatnot. They're a lot more chill now. And now I would really not be out there trying to convince my parents that like Christianity is a lie or something. Instead, I would try to convince them how they can be more accepting and progressive within Christianity. So I
Yeah.
actually think that that's a good way to argue with some religious people. I think it would depend on who you're talking to. For me, I tend to apply that when I'm debating people more like face to face, personal. I'm not like I'm going to try to get my mom to just like walk away from God, even though she's been a Christian for all of her life now. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would be silly. So instead,
Yeah.
it's like I'm going to focus on how I can get her to be more accepting within that. So I think you're onto the right point there.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like what I meant.
Yeah.
Um, what's it called? I don't know. Just in general, like obviously, I don't really watch your videos on religion because they make me kind of uncomfortable because of the resentment part.
Because of what?
Just because the resentment part.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, I I'm I'm trans, so I've gone through like all the trauma parts
Mm-hmm.
of it with my own family,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to like a point where I felt like, hey, I just make fun of Christians, and I literally like use Satanism to my advantage
Mm-hmm.
to put
Yeah.
Christians down.
Right.
And now like I look back on it, I was literally just creating more violence, and I was being the worst person.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do see your your point, and because is it like you coping with trauma that
Well, for me, I
you're
would.
doing that?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you
Oh,
there. Go ahead.
just asking here. I'm just asking a question.
What was the question?
Uh, if is like making fun of religion, like I see like in very like some of your videos, is
Mm-hmm.
it a way of coping with your trauma?
Probably yes, but also I was gonna say is I think there's a bit of a difference. Like I understand what you mean about like sort of using Satanism to like trigger Christians and stuff. Like I totally get that, but I think the difference there is like because correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say that doing that made you sort of feel uncomfortable, right? Like you felt like you were adding to the problem, right?
Yeah, but
Right. And so I was gonna say like if that's how you were feeling, that makes sense if you're not really a Satanist. If you're doing it to spite Christians, I get that. For me, I am a passionate and sort of harsh person. That's my personality altogether. I talk the same kind of way about conservatives and stuff too. So when it comes to the Christianity stuff, that's kind of just my style that I'm now discussing that issue in, if that makes sense. It's not like I'm
yeah,
I'm putting on a pretend angry face when I talk about that. Like I truly am ticked off by religion. I'm annoyed by it. I think it's illogical, and it does. Yes, it brings me. It's fun to mock it and roast it on my streams. Yes. So as far as a coping mechanism, I don't know if I'd go as far as to call it that, but as far as it being like something that something that I think is like authentic to me, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
so you mock it because it makes you feel good.
No,
Um,
like I truly like I believe what I'm saying, right? Like you're saying like when you were pretending to be a Satanist to tick off Christians, eventually it started to feel kind of lame. And I would understand that because that would feel lame to me too if I was like pretending to be something to sort of annoy or express my resentment. But for me, I'm just saying it's not pretend. Like I am genuinely a passionate and sort of angry person sometimes. And so when I'm very passionate and heated about something, that's how it sounds. So for me, when I talk about religion that way, I am angry about it, yes, but that's how I talk about all the issues that I'm serious about, right?
since
So it's not, I'm not putting up a front. Like I genuinely am upset with religion and I find it to be illogical and pretty dangerous.
But do you think that's like a bad way to go about it? Because
Not really,
from
because I think that I've convinced a lot of people away from it. Like if my whole thing was just like Christians are retarded, they were like, hey, do you want to argue about that? And I was like, no, you're retarded. Like, of course, then that would be silly, right? But like, I feel like I definitely mock a good deal, but I also offer, I think, a lot of very solid like arguments in response. It's clear that I have grounding as to why I believe what I do, and I'm not just making fun of Christians and that's it.
yeah, but in my opinion, I feel like that's like a very invalidating way to go about it. I don't know. Like I
Invalidating
feel like
towards whom?
uh whoever you're talking to,
Towards
like
Christians?
no, just in general, because you say you talk that way to conservatives too, right?
Yeah, I talk that way to anybody. When I get passionate and heated, I sound that way, and that's why there's different videos too, where depending on the subject matter, there's sometimes where I am much more like calm and I'm just kind of like joking and clowning on it, and then other times where I am very angry and resentful. If say they're saying like, well, because the Bible says this, that's why I should be able to like rape my spouse or something. Like I've literally gone over something like that before. So it sometimes just depends on the subject as well. Like that anger and resentment is going to come out more when I witness like such blatantly bad behavior being justified by religion, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
I would agree that it's invalidating, but I don't care. Yes, I like to invalidate conservatives and Christians. They're stupid. They believe the wrong thing, and they should be invalidated. Their beliefs are invalidated or are invalid, so they should be invalidated. Yeah, but that's like the harsher approach that I have, which I understand isn't for everybody, and that's totally fine.
But I don't know. I just feel like there's better ways to go about it.
There probably are
Like,
for some people, but like the thing is that there's some people that do it works way better for them to try to like show empathy and sympathize with them and get on their level and everything else. Like the humanity kind of thing. I get that, but you know what? I'm the type of person who it resonates with me sometimes the other way. Sometimes, especially if I see somebody, like let's say I'm watching a debate with a conservative, and or sorry, let's say I'm just watching a debate, and the person debating believes the same thing I believe, and I'm watching this person getting obliterated in a debate. That's going to make me seriously reconsider my beliefs when I'm
yeah,
in a bad mood sometimes. Like sometimes my girlfriend, she's told me or something, she's like, I hate doing it, but sometimes the only way to get through to me is by like acting more frustrated and a little more annoyed with me to get me to like snap out of it, because that stuff resonates with me. So it's like I'm sort of, personally that works for me. For other people it might make them uncomfortable and it's not their thing, and that's totally cool.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I get where you mean. So, I don't know. I just feel like that's not productive at all. Cause
Well, I mean, it
like,
depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to change people's minds, like I've changed people's minds, so I'd say it's productive.
but don't you think you could change more people's minds by not being so like polarized in the
No,
sense
because I
that
think there's
like,
enough people that are not polarizing to kind of offer like a gentle pushback. I think there are some people that need to be willing to be a little bit more aggressive and stand up to bullies. So like for me, like if I see a Christian saying like gay people are degenerate, they're an abomination, God hates you, whatever, I would want, like I see them as a bully. I want to see them get stood up to. I don't just want to see somebody like, hey, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? And I'm not saying that it's wrong to want that. There are other people who would do that, and that's fine. For me though, I want to see a fucking bully get put in his place and told to shut the fuck up, and then embarrassed and explained as to why they're wrong, because that resonates with people too. So that's kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of depends. I think it's ultimately like personal preference.
oh, yeah, because well, at least I understand that now. Cause I don't know. I just feel like having like a platform that you do. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally looking at your right now. You have like 500K subs.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's just it's kind of like walking on eggshells having that personality when there's so many of people watching you and you have so much of an influence on people. Like I get it. I
Maybe,
would
but
get
like I'm
it.
not I'm not yelling at you, right, or
Yeah.
anything. Like people can come on here, like we have conversations. I'm not just going to start like insulting and being like an asshole to everybody. if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah. But like the thing is, I think I understand what you mean about it could be seen as not productive, but I think that there are some people, and I'm going to tell you this from personal experience, and this is part of the reason why I take the method and strategy that I do and like the aggressive and abrasive approach, is there are some people who have only ever been quote unquote stood up to in a nice way. They've never had a taste of their own medicine, like fed harshly back to them. And then that's why the minute that it happens, and I know this from experience because I've had personal conflicts with people where I will tell them to their face, I think you're manipulative, or I think you are a bad person, or I think you should shut up. And I will be honest with them, just like I am on stream. And the minute you push back against those people, they crumble. They literally crumble. Because they're so used to everybody walking on eggshells around them being like, oh, well, if I'm going to be, tell them I don't agree with them, I want to be nice and polite. And they take advantage of that because bullies, assholes, they don't care. They take advantage of other people's empathy. They exploit other people's empathy, and they use it to continue getting away with bad shit. So that's why I come along and I'm going to say, no, I don't care what you're going through. You don't get to say this, or you don't get to do that. And this is why. And I'm not going to be nice to them about it. Because I think sometimes the problem is too many people have been.
Uh-huh. So yeah. You're like, because from what I like see, I'm like thinking more in a general sense, like say groups of people. Like I don't think like people who are like confused on their religion would be so like, I'm not so confused. Let's say,
I actually think you would be surprised because I curtail my approach and my rhetoric depending on my audience to a certain degree. So like, obviously if I'm debating somebody who's like, hey, I'm just not so sure about Christianity. I think I'm a Christian, but I have some questions. And like, I'm going to be chill with them. I'm not going to start jumping down their throat and calling them like a retard or something. But if someone comes on here and they're like, no, God is real. God is real. God hates gay people and you're going to go to hell. Then of course I'm going to be mean to them. Right. So like, there's actually a really interesting debate I just did the other day with somebody, and I just spoke nicely to a Christian, and then he actually started to change his mind.
Wait, I'm sorry?
Sorry about that. My Discord and PC froze up there, so I did not catch what you were saying there. Could you start from the beginning of what you were saying?
Oh, yeah. No, you're fine. But I was just saying that I feel like it'd be better to go about it in a nicer way, because I feel like you could still have that like the hard approach, like in being more assertive, but I just think like when you start stepping into insults, that it just,
well, what if they insult?
well, does it make you the better person to insult them back?
No, but if they want to stoop low first, maybe they need a taste of their own medicine. If someone is going to say that gay people are degenerate, maybe it'll change it up a little bit for them to be called the degenerate for once.
Do you think like, I don't want to compare you, but like I know like, what's it called? Like I feel like this might be a random person to bring up, but like MLK, do you think he would do that?
No, but I think that he had a different goal. I think that if my goal was to get like massive mainstream policy passed or changed or something, that I would absolutely take a more like civil and optics mainstream approach. But I think that now there is such a broad audience of so many people that do more of the gentle and empathetic style kind of debates that someone's got to kind of fill the void, for the asshole Nazis, someone's got to be able to look them in the eye and be like, nah, dude, you're a fucking piece of shit. And like actually give them a little taste of their own medicine. But that's pretty much, I think it's just going to be a different of opinion at the end of the day. But either way, I really appreciate you calling in. Thanks so much.
Oh yeah, thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Sure.
Have a good night. Okay, bye.
If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today.